Hey everybody, it's Brendan. We have got a jam-packed show for you this week. A bunch of interviews we did with international left-wingers and friends at the DSA Convention from France and Portugal and the UK. It's a lot of education, a lot of information, but we do also have a lot of laughs with our last interview in particular, Malcolm from Momentum. One thing before we start, I'm recording this introduction on Saturday night, August 12th. And by now you probably know that earlier today in Charlottesville, Virginia, some pretty brave people, comrades, were attacked and at least one killed by a cowardly piece of shit Nazi. So earlier today we sent out a link to a verified GoFundMe to raise money for the medical bills, and we'll put that in this episode's description as well. Obviously, we are going to talk about this later in the week. But for now, I will just read a couple lines here from Bertolt Brecht. To call for the overthrow of the existing order may seem a terrible thing, but what exists is no order. And so, in a certain sense, the conversations you're about to hear are as relevant as ever, because what we're talking about is building a strong internationalist left and linking up struggles in this country to the same fight that's happening all over the world. The guy in our first interview, George from France, he talks about the far-right bastards of the National Front and so on. We've got our own right-wing bastards in this country, and I think we owe it to the people who stood in harm's way today to fight them here and there and any way we can. So with that in mind, stay strong and enjoy this week's show.
Hello, I'm here with George Kuzmanovic, foreign policy spokesman for Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is a member of the National Assembly of the French Republic and former presidential candidate. First of all, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Well, we wanted to ask, first of all, what are you doing here with Democratic Socialists of America?
Well, we have been invited here to participate at this convention. And we're very happy to be here because what's happening here in the United States, it's very important for us. Maybe U.S. citizen doesn't know that, but we're following everything what's happening here. Not only the election, which was a great moment when it comes to Sanders, but also all the struggle for the wage. From $8 to $15. We follow that closely. All the Occupy Wall Street, all the struggle in Las Vegas. Well, there is many struggles, and because we're internationalists, and we've been invited, and I represent here France Insoumise at this convention as an observer, and we will also invite. We have already invited DSA in France on our summer camp in the end of August in Marseille.
Oh.
And it will be warmer because here it's cold.
Can I get an invite? I would like to go to Marseille in August, please. I'm also an internationalist, so please, I would like to come.
All right. Well, we wanted to start out. You have come from a military background, and generally in the U.S., there is a tradition of anti-war veterans, but anyone who kind of gets a political position who is former military is usually extremely right-wing. So we kind of wanted to know how you sort of came to your politics.
My military background is one of my backgrounds. In fact, I started my life in NGOs in Africa, where I spent 5 years working in NGOs in Africa and France, directly with the people suffering from war. So I saw war, but on the civil side, starting in Rwanda, then in Democratic Republic of Congo, then in Mali, and also with the homeless people in the streets of Paris. So that's my first background. Then I've taught at the university sociology and political science for 5 years. And also, I've done my military service because when I was younger, there was still a military service in France, which doesn't exist anymore. But I decided to do it because we and many people in France consider that a professional army is a danger for democracy. And until 1999, we had a half professional army, half military army, a military service people, and the roots of this citizen in arms goes to the French Revolution. That was saved by not the professional army that was on the service of the kings and the oligarchy of that time, but that the people, even those who were not trained, that took arms to protect revolution and their new democratic institutions.
To that end, how did you sort of link up with Mélenchon after your service?
How I joined Mélenchon?
Yeah.
I know Mélenchon from many years when he was still in the Socialist Party, that he left in 2008 because the Socialist Party wasn't basically anymore socialist. And
The Hollande.
yeah, he created the Parti de Gauche. And I decided to join the Parti de Gauche when the Parti de Gauche was created because Mélenchon did a tremendous move when he decided to cut the links with the Parti Socialiste. And they started a new movement. In the beginning, there were like 20 in a cave. Well, it was not in a cave. It was in a cave in a pizzeria. Yeah, but it's funny. But now we are 500,000. So, and this is something we can see when you will look at DSA. Of course, growing from 5,000 to 24,000. What I'm seeing here at the convention, this is just great.
So Mélenchon has been very critical of the European Union, which is a little difficult for Americans to understand because there's both a sort of left-wing objection and a very right-wing objection. Can you sort of explain that to the left-wing objection?
We are not criticizing Europe as a political object. We are, in fact, we are for a European Union, but we are against that European Union. How is it built? And the problem is that all the institutions of the actual European Union are non-democratic and completely oriented toward capitalism. Mm-hmm. And the promotion of free market, free trade, less wages, less social security. And this is what we oppose.
An even stickier thing in some ways is NATO. And I was wondering, for you and for Mélenchon, for your party at large, how do you disengage from things like NATO, things like certain parts of the EU, without rupturing things, without creating shocks to your system or sort of causing huge blowbacks like has happened in the UK?
Well, everybody, all the left is participating to find a way to build a new Europe for the people, but not to have a chaos out of that. Brexit is completely different. It was run by the right and the far right there, and you have the situation that that is not chaotic but complicated for Great Britain because they did it by themselves for themselves and not really thinking of the future. And this is what the far right in France want. Once again, we are organizing that with the other European people and the rest of the European left. And of course, it's difficult because if we quit the actual European institution, we will have a fight, a war that will be organized by capitalists. Yeah. Regarding NATO, it's a bit different. NATO is a military organization that is completely useless except to make war somewhere on the planet because they need a justification. NATO was built when there was two blocks and against the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact. Well, this Warsaw Pact disappeared like 25 years ago, and NATO remains. And NATO needs enemies and to justify its existence. And we consider that NATO is a mean for the United States to control other countries, especially Europe. France was a bit apart of the other European countries because due to the will of the General de Gaulle, it was not integrated to the command of NATO. And it's only when Mr. Sarkozy was president, his nickname was the American.
Oh, that's
Always
cruel.
a good sign.
Cruel.
Yeah. Well, all now they want to be the American, more American than the Americans. Of course, they consider themselves Americans, like the elite oligarchy of America, not the real Americans. Okay.
not people like us.
Yeah, exactly. And well, you bring back France to the Joint Command, and then the next president, François Hollande, the so-called socialist, he accepted that the NATO troops can come back on the French soil. And the new one, Macron, will push more and more the links with NATO. We want to go out from NATO. In fact, we want this organization to disappear because it's a military organization, and we consider that the only legal and legitimate organization on an international level is the United Nations, and that have also a military command. And we want to, if we seize power someday, we will leave NATO and we will try to improve the strength of the United Nations.
Right. So it's very much not just about leaving these institutions, but looking at the ones that are reformable and also sort of building new institutions that are actually internationalist and actually left.
Exactly. That's very true. That's why one of the things that I'm the most proud in the last presidential election is when we went with Mr. Mélenchon to the United Nations in Geneva, when it was in October 2016, and at that time it was the second round of the negotiation on a counter-free trade agreement in which all the states of the world were involved except the United States. Well, European Union was involved, but they right away they said that they don't want a counter free trade agreement. But this was great because you had people of all the nation discussing how to force big firms, transnational companies, to respect social and environmental rights. And you know what? No one media in France spoke about that. No one.
Really?
It's in France. It's called omerta. I don't know if you have that word here.
Yeah. Code of silence.
Yeah, it's the
Italian
mafia
word,
code of silence.
Mafia.
Yeah, it's kind of the same line of attack all over the world, at least in the West, of when people want to reform things along internationalist lines, you always get the same attack. It's that you're a Russian deep cell psyop, that you're the same as the far right people, and then they won't mention any of the things that you actually want to reform to make things more internationalist, which is very telling.
Yeah. So that's why we have a plan A, which is reform of the institution. And if it doesn't work, we organize with other European people a plan B to just how to say that? Fuck off to capitalists that are running Europe right now.
Yankee dogs go home.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a little bit earlier the far right in France and the Front National. And I just wanted to, obviously, as you see here in Chicago, there's a upswing in enthusiasm for socialism and the left among young people. But there's also an upswing in enthusiasm among young people for the far right. And that there's this sort of generation that is left out of the capitalist order that they grew up in. And a lot of them are turning to xenophobic far-right parties and politics. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on how the left and your party specifically, the importance of, what do you see as, how do you reach out to those people? Do you reach out to them? And, what is a different path that can be offered by a genuine socialist party to maybe blunt the effects of far-right nationalism and xenophobia?
Well, that's also a big question, a very important one. Right now, I think that we are in a period that looks like the 30s.
A lot of downwardly mobile, formerly middle class, young people turning right. It's in a lot of countries.
Young people of a dominant group who feel like completely dislocated is always the worst thing.
Well, I think many people, especially young people, they're going to more and more to far right parties, but also more and more to socialist parties.
Yeah.
Because, capitalism looks doomed, in fact. Okay, it's very successful for some of them, for the 1%. It's not even the 1%, it's the 0.01%. People do see that something's wrong for their own life. They see that they won't have the good wages, or at least their children they won't. There won't be good jobs for everybody, and even there won't be jobs at all for many million, as it is the case in France. We have 9 million poor people out of 68 million people in the country. 9 million poor, and it's growing every year, and 6 million people without work. So these social problems they create a specific political situation for young people that want to change, and this change will come. That's for sure. It will be from the socialist side or from the far right at the end, because at the end it will be a fight between us or between us or them.
How do we build an international anti-imperialist left? Which is a very big question that we apologize for asking you.
No. It's very interesting. Once again, it goes through explanation, and you have to go to see people and to let them know, because most of the time people just are not aware at all. Mm-hmm. I remember a funny documentary made by Michael Moore about the School of Americas, of murderers or assassinations.
So they trained everyone to kill and torture people in South America and Fort Benning.
Yeah, and before in Panama, and many dictators from South America went there to have classes. And Michael Moore was walking in the street of Manhattan, asking young people, well-educated, he chose them well, asking, what are you studying? I'm studying, I don't know, to be doctor, lawyer. Are you not studying how to torture people and to kill them and to organize a coup? No. But have you heard of the School of America? Maybe you want to attend. What? Well, the funny thing is that these young people didn't know about the School of America. So how can you fight against imperialism and war when you're not aware?
Well, I think to your point, I mean, obviously the media is never going to tell the full story. Like the media is in the bag for war and imperialism in a lot of ways. So I think it speaks to the importance of having political leadership that's willing to state the case openly and confidently. And as Felix mentioned, Bernie Sanders, who's like the most mainstream left politician in America, has always been very gun shy about making a foreign policy, like a sort of concerted foreign policy critique. I mean, he was against the Iraq War, but he basically let that pass for fear of getting distracting from his other message. But because the media won't do it, I think it's important to have leadership who will. Because if they say it, then then the media has to cover it and they have to talk about it, and the case is at least out there. They're never going to accept it. You're going to be slammed for it one way or the other. But if you make the case openly, as you said, I think people can be convinced. It's not hard to make that case.
Well, non-corporate media would be nice too.
Yeah.
But regarding medias, it's very important because we understand in the presidential election in France of 2012 that the medias are against us. Yeah. So for the next ones, the last ones, the 2017, we create our own medias, which are incredible. It's like millions of people are watching them. You have more people now that are watching Jean-Luc Mélenchon's blog and videos than the political shows. We change a lot. And he's ready to assume anti-imperialist position and to go against war. And also ours war, the French ones, because we're always criticizing the Americans and bastards, they attack all the planet. But in France, we have this concept of France-Afrique, which is the French Africa, and our special forces, our intelligence, and especially our politicians, they have blood on their hands, and they organize coup all around, and a lot of ugly thing just to have the grasp on the resources, out there. So it's a bit like the United States in smaller, but it's the same problem, and we are attacking that. And Mélenchon is saying it.
Okay, just to wrap up, what do you think the future is for La France Insoumise and for Mélenchon and the French left in general?
We intend to take power in 2022. Yeah.
I like that ambition.
So, our next step will be the European elections in 2 years. So it's in order to elect the Congress of Europe that has no real democratic power, but anyway, it's symbolic. And our target is to be the second party in France, and to be first before the far right. And this is something we're already succeeding, because they promised us for the last elections that Front National will be the first party of France, it will be 30%, and that they will have 40, 50, 60 deputy at the French Assembly. And as a matter of fact, they have 8, and we have 17, and we're in fact very close to the election. The difference between us and them is 600,000 votes, which is nothing. And they are collapsing right now because one part of them are very, in fact, the traditional far right, really xenophobic. They hate the stranger. They are even like the people who supported Nazis. Well, completely fucked up. And you have also this new far right that is more socialist, those who helped Hitler to reach power, and there is a fight among them, and that's very visible, and that helps us to show that no, these people, they don't have a real program. In fact, they use sometimes socialist concept to get more power among the working class, but in fact they're far right bastards, as they're always were. And we are very confident that we will be stronger and stronger, because what happened in the last election is tremendous. Right now, to be frank, we don't know how to organize completely 500,000 people, because we have 500,000 supporters that joined the movement. So we have to organize it. More and more people are joining every day, and this Macron, our new president in France, who was elected, it was a kind of mediatic coup, because he had the support of all the medias, all the businessmen, the financing system. He had all the money, and they present him as a fresh new guy that will try to do new things.
Gonna
and
run France like a startup.
All the crap. Of course, they didn't remind people that he was working for 4 years for the Rothschild Bank, and that he's a financist, that he was a special counselor to François Hollande for 3 years, and then his Ministry of Economy, which is not exactly a newcomer. And he was the one responsible for all the laws that are against working class in France during the five last year. So right now he has full power. His popularity is already decreasing strongly. Why? Because all the policies that he's implementing are against people, and it's visible. He wants to cut wages, cut rights for workers, and they will do it. and at the same time, the debt will continue to rise, and the unemployment, because the causes of debt and unemployment are not the wages of the working class. It's elsewhere. So because the Socialist Party, that was the party supposed to govern the country as a left party, completely collapsed, nothing remains except us right now. That's the reality. So we will be the real next opponent to Macron for the next general elections.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
I'm very optimistic. Welcome. We are here with Catarina, Príncipe of Bloco. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we thought we'd sort of start out with a mini history. I'd say start from the beginning.
Wow.
After the,
I know,
after
okay.
the magma of the Earth's surface
It's a
cooled
big-
for about
I would-
years.
How about a compromise? We start with Prince Henry the Navigator.
Exactly. Okay, so Bloco was formed in 1999. And I think Bloco is an experience of re-foundation of the left, a very particular one. And we have now other examples, but Bloco was kind of the forefront of this form of recomposition. And what happened specifically was that, I mean, the European social democracy for the traditional European social democracy, which have become over the last decades totally like liberal parties, they have left a space open in politics in Portugal, but in other countries also. And there was the need for a new left to occupy that space and to reclaim again the principles that founded the European social democracy, like social welfare, labor rights. But this was not the only purpose of these parties. The parties like Bloco, they were also connecting other demands and other experiences. So we used to say we are the children of Seattle also, because we are very inspired by the outer globalization movement and the movement of the social forums. And so it was an experience of trying to make a synthesis between traditional left politics and new types of left politics. So making a new program between traditional social democracy like reforms and more radical demands. So this is the type of party that Bloco is. It formed in 1999. It has been growing. There was some backdrops in the middle, but that's a normal process. And right now we are, we had our best results ever last elections, which was October 2015. And we got 11%. And in Portugal, we have a more or less proportional parliament. That means we elected 19 MPs. And we are now supporting Socialist Party, so the sort of social liberal party, in parliament.
Tell us about the other political parties of Portugal.
Okay. Portugal has an interesting left-wing tradition because we had a revolution in 74 and 75, which wasn't that long ago. And therefore, there are so many different small left-wing parties. There were, and there are still some. The two main left-wing parties are the Left Bloc, the party that I'm a member of, which was composed, and this is also what I missed to say before, which was composed by three small radical left-wing parties that existed in Portugal since the revolution, and many other people were not organized, but also a communist party, like a traditional, more orthodox communist party, which exists for almost 100 years now, and it was the only party that lasted throughout the dictatorship and clandestinity. So these are the two big parties in Portugal, and then there are other smaller ones. And then we have the Socialist Party. Okay, I want to say something that I normally say for foreign audiences, which is in Portugal, all the parties have very left-wing names because they were all formed during a revolutionary process. So you couldn't call yourself the Conservative Party during a socialist revolution because no one would vote for you. So our conservatives are called the Social Democrats and our Social Democrats are called the Socialists. So it makes so there's a little bit confusion in the name.
I respect the branding.
Yeah, no, it's smart.
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking about the Socialist Party in Portugal, I'm actually talking about the parties of the Second International, right? So I'm talking about something that would be like in the political family of the Democrats, something like that. So it's important to say this because then when I say Socialist Party, people think it's a very left-wing party, and it's not. So actual left-wing parties there are two, Bloco and the Communist Party.
And they're the junior members of the coalition then with the socialists?
So the particularity of what we are doing in Portugal right now is that it's not really a coalition. Because because we have, like I said before, a more proportional electoral system. It means that our parliament is an important instrument. And what happened in October 2015, last elections, was we had 4 years of the very, very harsh austerity, so very harsh cuts and a strong process of impoverishment and hyper neoliberalization. And after the party that was ruling during this four years was the Social Democrats, which are the conservatives in Portugal, right? They were ruling for this 4 years. And in October 2015, we had elections, and they won the elections again. But for the first time in Portuguese history, of the history of Portuguese democracy, which is 40 years old, more or less, there was a possibility for the Socialist Party, which is our center-left party, Social Liberals, to form a minority government and be supported by the two left-wing parties that are also in parliament, so Bloco and the Communist Party. What we decided was not to be a part of the government. Both the parties decided the same. So we're not junior partners in a coalition government. We give parliamentary support to a minority government of the Socialist Party. This means that we don't have to make all the compromises with their program, so we keep our autonomy. And this also means that all the measures that the government approves, they have to go through parliament. And so it means that we are negotiating every measure all the time, because we didn't just accept a full program that we are supporting as junior partner coalitions in a coalition. So it's a specific type of coalition, because it's not really a coalition. We say it's a parliamentary support of a minority government.
Right. It's politics, right?
And so then does that mean that when an issue is being brought up for consideration, that you have sort of red lines that
yes,
like guide the way that you negotiate with the socialists to make sure that like they do not
that is the
go
idea,
beyond
exactly.
that?
What would be an example of those red lines that would be enforced?
So one of the red lines is no more austerity in the form of what we had with the right-wing government. So that means no more wage cuts, no more cuts in the social state, social welfare. Another red line is to stop the precarization, so the flexibilization of labor laws. So that the government cannot implement any form or any other law or measure that would disrupt the labor market or liberalize it further. Another red line is no more privatizations or concessions. Those are like the three big ones. And then there's other, like no more tax rises or direct tax rises on wages. There's also no more cuts in the pensions and the restitution of the pensions. This is already passed, and we have a higher minimum wage right now. So that was one of the things that we agreed on. So
that would be an example of something that you could work with the Socialist Party, raising a minimum wage.
Yeah, it's done. I mean, it's not done. So what we did was the labor movement in Portugal has been demanding for the minimum wage to be 600 euros a month, and it's very, very low anyway. And what we agreed with the Socialist Party is that both Bloco and the Communist Party is that it will rise to 600 during the 4 years of the mandate. So it is rising a little bit every year, so that in 2019 we will have the 600 euros as minimum wage, which has been like an historical demand of the labor movement.
What would you say are sort of the political tensions between the two? I mean, you said that you're sort of critical of this unity. I'd like to hear more about that.
Okay, so let me, I don't know if this is interesting for you, but I think this we have to see what is happening in Portugal in a broader context. And the broader context of what is happening in Portugal is the erosion of social democratic parties in Europe. So you can look at it very clearly in Greece, what happened with the with the party of the Second International, so the European Social Democracy, so PASOK, that completely disappeared. You can see what is happening in Germany with the SPD, that they're not able to win elections for years. You can see that what just happened in France with the Socialist Party of France, that they completely disappeared. They are now, they're selling their headquarters. I just learned yesterday, because they have no more money. You can see what happened with the PSOE in Spain. So there is an erosion of social democracy in Europe. And this erosion, it comes, I mean, it's their own doing, because they have become so liberals that their programs do not distinguish themselves from the conservative right wing. And this is a process of years. It didn't begin now. It started like 30 years ago, more or less. But it has been ongoing. And so because they're losing their political space, there was a moment in Portugal when these elections happened. The Socialist Party had two options. They would either negotiate with the left, or they would have to be junior partners in a right-wing coalition. If they would do that, they would disappear, like all the other parties did. I have to say that their electoral programs between the Conservatives and the Socialist Party in Portugal were basically the same, right? So it would make sense, but this was tactical to negotiate with the left in order to survive and to open a political space of resurrection. And so we have to see that this is a context where Portugal was given a space of maneuvering. The Socialist Party in Portugal was given a space of maneuvering in order to reestablish itself. And in that sense, I think the left could have gone further in the negotiations. So there are very important things that we need, absolutely, in order to actually stop austerity, because we have the stop of an impoverishment process, but the measures that we approved will not overturn austerity in the long run. So we need, very clearly, we need to restructure and to cut off most of our public debt, public in commas, because it's a complex process. We need to have public control of the banking system, because right now it's around 80% of the Portuguese banking system is private, because we've been bailing out banks, and we're just putting money into banks, but we have no control over them. So the Portuguese banking system is a ticking time bomb, and it's worse now than it was with the right-wing government. We need to have measures of public investment to reboost economy, and this government has invested less in the public sector than the right-wing government. So the money that this government invested in health and education is less than the right-wing government.
Why do you think that is?
Because this was the only process through which we could, keep the red lines of the agreement, like hiring wages and dropping the deficit level, which we need because of the budgetary treatment in Europe. If not, we pay fines, and there's a big problem. So the parties in the countries in Europe, within the European Union, that's another problem. So the relation with the EU is that we can't have a public deficit every year that is higher than 3% of our GDP. If not, you pay fines, or you're open to have some sort of disciplinary measures, like the IMF will come and whatever. Yes, exactly. So for the first time in years, the deficit level was below. It was actually really low. It was the lowest deficit level. So that seems things are going well, but they aren't, because we managed to have the lowest deficit level with the lowest investment ever. So we have growing without investment, which seems a really contradictory thing, but it's not. And what is happening is just it's a contextual moment with the coming together of different factors, like the drop of the price of oil. The Portuguese economy is highly dependent on importations. Is a service economy that is highly dependent on everything it imports. So the drop of the price of oil because of the conflicts in the Middle East is very, it means that we're paying much less for what we import. So that's a very important thing for Portuguese economy. Another thing is because of the conflicts in the Middle East, tourism in Portugal has exploded. Portugal is the new European destination. So everyone's coming to Portugal. And so we have a growth in consumption, but not a growth in investment. So we are a more volatile economy today, more dependent on external factors than we were before.
Because they have to meet those guidelines,
yes,
the budget guidelines. And that, I think, speaks really to how important internationalism is, because so many of these issues and challenges seem to to feed into the difficulty of left parties to like really gain traction and change things, because there is that disciplinary effect of like the EU and the international monetary like stuff. They will like basically prevent you from doing things that would be beneficial to everyone in the country. And like it's only through a more effective, robust left internationalism that you're going to be able to really challenge those institutions. Otherwise, the individual left movements are just going to get disciplined from capital again and again.
I agree, but I think it is important to note that the EU is not only an international project. It's a core periphery project, and it's a project that still, so it's a transnational economic bloc, yeah, for sure. It's a process of internationalization of capital, but it's also a bloc that survives because it has competing nation states. So the nation state is still, and this is not a nationalistic approach, it's just to say that the nation state is still a field, a very important field in terms of organizing the economy, and at the same time a field of political dispute. So yes, of course we need internationalism, but we need also very strong movements at the level of the nation state, because the level of the nation state is the only level where democracy exists reflected in structures. There is no democracy at the European level. We have no capacity of changing European laws. What we can change is how they're applied in each country.
To that question of a political education, for you guys, you say you got 11% at your best result in the last election. You're coming into this world where you mentioned the traditional parties of European social democracy have withered away or become very neoliberal, and in that space, there's a huge opportunity. But in terms of educating people whose lives have been quite poorly affected by these policies, like you said, which are not that much different than the right, how do you make the case again for the traditional, real, like, backbone of social democracy, like you said, labor rights, social democracy, things like that? Like, how do you begin that conversation, like you said, when the name itself has been so tarnished by the parties themselves who are supposed to represent it?
When we analyze what we do and our proposals and our program, I think the left radical parties in Europe have a social democratic agenda program, plus many other things. So it's a mix. But I don't think when we're fighting for this, we need to say that we're fighting for social democracy. A dirty word. I mean, in a way, yes, because people associate it with the now liberal parties. But if we make the case for we need free healthcare, that's traditionally a demand of the traditional social democracy. But we can say it like this. We don't need to say this is a social democratic program.
Just
or
say
agenda.
free healthcare?
Free healthcare.
Yeah, okay.
Free education.
Are there any members
no
of the
more
Democratic
precarity.
Party currently listening to this
Free
podcast right now?
Free education, no tuition fee.
Yeah.
Generally, kind of close on what do you see for
the future of the party and,
my
the
God.
coalition and all that stuff.
What's your plan for the future? How do you plan to wrench the country from the clutches of the EU and austerity and the right? 2 minutes, go. No, kidding.
Okay, so I'm gonna just consult my crystal ball right here. No, I don't know. Like I think we need to. What I'm gonna say will sound really obvious, but I think sometimes it's important to restate obvious things. We need to win majorities. We need to win social majorities. That's the only way forward for anything. Any process of restructuring our economy will be a difficult one. That can only be done with popular support. So how do we do this? I think we don't focus our efforts and energy on Parliament, and we just use Parliament as an instrument for, like a bullhorn, for the demands of the movements. And that also means that we need to take our time and energy to help and to support rebuilding movements that in Portugal are very in a moment of suspension, because suppose we have a left government, supposedly. So social movements are in suspension, seeing what is happening. So we need to reboost these movements and build popular support for the essential demands to actually overturn austerity, and focus our efforts and energy to do that. I think what you were mentioning about a new internationalism is an important thing. From what I know about the convention, DSA's convention, the BDS support thing was just approved, and I think that's a really good step forward into how we build a new progressive internationalism. And I know that there's going to be a discussion about leaving the Socialist International, which I think is a really cool thing. It's happening right now. Yeah. So like the Socialist International is it's interesting that the DSA is voting to leave or to downgrade its membership or whatever at the Socialist International, more or less at the same moment when CITESA is just approved that they're going to be observers. So that they're different movements, and that's an interesting thing that we need to take into consideration. So of course, building a new or a renewed left internationalism, learning from what we have before, but also reinventing new things will be essential, because we will not have socialism in one country.
Yeah, absolutely not.
We need, we do.
But as far as like the DSA here is, they've experienced some growth, but it is still, as far as this country, way, way, way away from winning popular majorities as a party. I mean, because it's even harder in this country because there's only 2 games in town and they both are horrible.
True.
But like in terms of what you said about like of making those demands for like free healthcare, free education, do you think like that can be a useful way for like a nascent left-wing party like the DSA in America, or like this nascent moment rather?
Of course. I mean, yes. I think. I mean, it's essential to recover those programs or those
essential demands.
Essential
They
demands.
did. I just fresh breaking news. They did vote to leave the Socialist International.
All right. I
Breaking
think
news! If you're listening to this, folks, it's happening right now.
Right off the wire.
I think that's really cool.
I actually, they haven't been very useful to us over the years.
No,
so
my God.
I don't know why we've invested so much in it. Actually, I do. It is because we do want to be internationalists, but the institutions we have for that have thus far not been very useful to us. And I think that's a very comparable experience that leftists all over the world are going through.
Speaking of like renewing things and like redefining what internationalism is on fresh terms, and not sticking with the old sclerotic system that's been totally infected with neoliberalism.
But there are some international guests at the convention, which I think guests or observers or whatever.
Yeah,
where I
absolutely.
think that's you've been interviewing other people, right? So I think that's where we built from.
Actual leftists.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining
thank you very
us.
much.
Yes,
Thank you.
you.
That was great.
Good luck.
Okay, so I'm here with Marcus Barnett of Momentum.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Very, very funny to be here.
So we've been doing these interviews with various international comrades, and for a lot of them we've had to do very kind of rudimentary stuff because Americans don't know a lot
Because
about
our fans are ignorant swine.
a little bit, yeah, but charmingly so. But
They're
they do know a
adorable little
lot about
piglets.
they do know a lot about labor, and they've been really excited by Corbyn. So we're really interested in getting down to sort of brass tacks.
Yeah, people are into the boy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Into the boy here.
So I think to open up, we'd like to know, all of us are very curious about this. How didn't your country know that Jimmy Savile was a fucking pedophile? I mean, Jesus Christ, look at him.
So like, I was actually just talking about this again. To the taxi driver that I mentioned, like the Bernie guy, who was great. In fact, actually, you should probably tip him. He was fucking great. If you can go back on the phone and tip him.
Yeah, you can.
He was brilliant. He was really, really good. But he said, I was saying, he said like, oh, you're from Manchester. Oh, that's That's okay. That's quite funny actually. I was just watching a documentary on Princess Diana. She's a beautiful woman, but he starts talking about the establishment, because he's of the popular opinion that Princess Diana got bumped off by the state, and facts
only.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying.
We know
anything.
what you did, Elizabeth.
What if my flight might go down mysteriously? I'm not saying anything. So I brought up the whole Operation U-Tree thing, obviously, where it was revealed that every single individual that's ever been on television between 1945 and 1996 was like a satanic child molester. And his fucking mind was blown, man. His brain was expanding.
Wait,
understand
tell
that.
about Parliament.
When he saw that picture,
yeah, no, it's all over.
if he ever saw the picture of Jimmy Savile, he'd be like, "How? This man? I can't believe
Why
it."
would you let
Yeah.
a child around that man?
Well, he was like, these people might have blue eyes, but you never know what they're really thinking in their heads. And I was like, I really want to show him, those photographs of Jimmy in his fucking big red suit.
Oh my God, yeah.
Apparently his office is just, like my friend Luke Farley, he said that his office is still there, but it's fucking covered in asbestos and no one goes in.
Oh
So it's
my
like
God.
some haunted part of Leeds,
There's like
Central-
there's like a
Central Leeds
lever on the
asbestos
desk.
sensor.
You got a trap door. There's a huge candy drawer.
Okay, but
is
getting
your
back
question
to
why-
actual politics.
The answer to the question, why didn't anyone know Jimmy Savile was a pedophile, is because everyone in the UK is a pedophile.
True.
So
Yeah, and why
it's
isn't
just- yeah,
why
yeah.
It's a
isn't why
nation
isn't
of pedophiles.
why isn't hang the pedos a revolutionary demand?
Yeah. When
Are you with us or against
will
us?
Jeremy Corbyn come out in favor of hanging the pedos?
Well, I think he should. This has been going on for too long.
Well,
Enough is enough.
If Corbyn is really serious about becoming prime minister and taking power, someone close to him has to have a child fucking scandal.
Oh.
Marcus,
Well, yeah, that's how the establishment warned him,
Yeah.
But you know what? Why didn't Bernie go for this? He's anti-establishment, and people talk about populism, But if
could
there's
have
one thing
given him the bomb.
Yeah, well, if there's one thing the workers don't like, it's nonsense.
Jeremy Corbyn is clearly not serious about sitting in Downing Street. Just look, not a single paedophile among his shadow cabinet. I am disgusted.
A little too clean.
This man does not know how to lead.
he just promises. He promises all these naive, gullible children unrealistic things like "I won't fuck you."
So let's talk about momentum.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, in the States don't really understand the tradition of these smaller advocacy groups within parties, particularly the Labour Party. So can you kind of define momentum for us?
Momentum is an organisation based out of the enthusiasm generated by the first Jeremy Corbyn campaign. Its primary interests is to democratise the Labour Party and turn it into a bottom-up, grassroots, member-led organisation. Is that good enough?
Yeah, there you go. The other thing is that Americans don't really know what a political party is.
Yeah, we don't have those here.
We don't actually
We have
I'm well
brands.
aware.
have them. So can you tell Will, who doesn't actually know this either,
I'm learning.
the difference between the Parliamentary Labour Party and the Labour Party, and talk about the trade unionists.
So the Labour Party is like a big coalition of interests. There's affiliated socialist societies, there's the trade union movement, there's the membership, and there's also the Parliamentary Labour Party. There's never been a system whereby Labour MPs are delegated, so to speak, to implement the will of conference. Conference is always, in the resolutions passed, is always kind of meant to be the reflection of the opinions of the membership at large, rather than direct instructions. There's never been a political culture where these people are, delegates of the party. That probably explains for many people why the Parliamentary Labour Party sometimes seems so out of step with the membership and so wayward, and why it's certainly the most conservative, with a small c, part of the Labour movement.
Right. I mean, in the U.S., you're not a member of a party. It's just
You just vote for them.
Which is why
They just tell you what to do.
My favorite tweet I saw, I believe it was from Tom Watson, Hillary man extraordinaire Tom Watson. It was in response to the news about the the DSA hitting 25,000 members, he said, there are over 160,000 registered Democrats in the Bronx alone. It's like, what? That's not a thing.
It doesn't
Registered
mean
Democrats, like,
they're
I
not
want to
members.
vote in Democratic primaries. That's all you're doing.
No, I had to register as a Democrat
You're right.
because we have closed primaries in New York.
Yeah,
and
so if you wanted to
despite
vote
not-
for Bernie in the primary.
So I had to, which means you have to go through this whole process because they're not real parties. They're not
Yeah.
accountable to any
that-
kind of
and
membership
it's
at all.
so,
And they're certainly
like-
not accountable to
Yeah.
trade unions.
And people just can't process a different way to organize politics.
Yeah.
It's like there's just this shell, and then you just pick which side you like. You know, do you like guns more or gay adoption? And then you pick that one of them, and then that's your identity. And it doesn't really require you to do anything, and it certainly doesn't create any kind of organizing structure for issues or
Right.
anything like that.
Well, and also, like, the Democratic Party is the oldest party of its kind in existence.
Yes.
It's an ancient party
It's kind
formed
of
by
insane.
slave owners.
Well, I think that's an underrated aspect in why American class politics is so messed up, and why the Democrats are so uniquely fucking weird and bad, is because in the rest of Europe, the creation of an industrial proletariat and the expansion of the franchise to include, all men, that universal manhood suffrage, was happening at the same time. So you're creating parties as people are getting to vote. And what are they going to do? They're going to create a labor party. They're going to create a party for workers because they see themselves that way. But in America, we had the Democratic shell already, and we just fit workers into it. It's like, oh, we already have this thing called the Democratic Party. It's
Like
this,
sardines.
yeah, and it's like it's a coalition of interests, and you're one of them now. And there was never a sense of the party being directly accountable to labor.
Yeah.
the
Well,
way
I mean,
is
it
in
was
other countries.
top down in the most formal of ways.
What's the relationship between like the trade unions and the Democrats in America? Is it just like they're just powerful lobbyists basically, and the Democrats are in?
They're not that powerful.
No, they've lost it.
That's
But
the
yeah,
problem.
like
They
even
were
at the height.
at one point.
Even at the height, though, they were basically just a money supply. Like they would fund Democratic campaigns, and that's where they would get a large percentage of their operating budgets would be from like the AFL-CIO or something, and that would give some labor leaders like influence at conventions, but they did not have the kind of block access.
So they don't have the
and
sort of access
control.
that the Labour Party
Influence
does. with the
at
trade unions.
conventions and the Tangiers Hotel and Casino.
And I mean, if you want to look at how that has played out for them, you
Yeah.
had so many major unions endorsing Hillary Clinton, despite the fact that she's associated with a political dynasty that has been extremely bad for labor, because they're just very weak and very scared,
And we don't have
trying to
anywhere
keep their
else
heads
to
above
go.
water.
That's the
yeah,
thing.
there's no other game in town.
Did any unions endorse Trump? There was rumours that Teamsters were gonna.
Oh,
There was bullshit.
I've seen protests of maybe it was CWA, which would be weird because they're actually a pretty good union. But it was someone who worked for a cable company, and like at least three of it was a picket. At least three of their members were wearing "Make America Great Again" hats, and protesting for safety, and they were on strike and holding the. It wasn't just like a sit-down strike. I mean, they were picketing and screaming, and I took their literature and he's like, "Do you like my hat?" Because he saw me reading it, and I'm like, "That is a hat."
Keeps the sun out of your eyes. It's doing its job.
I support your strike. Yeah, but again, it's very different here. The other thing that's very different is that there is a classic kind of class war antagonism that is on the surface in the UK, which delights us because we don't really have this here because all Americans are aspirationally wealthy. So we thought that we could watch this lovely little public service announcement and do a little live viewing of it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, can you bring it up on your phone?
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that is genuinely anathema to American politics. Like you don't. First of all, you don't do generic. For the most part, you don't do generic during campaign seasons or around there. You don't do generic ads about issues or about like overarching stuff. It's all personality based. And
you certainly don't display any kind of resentment of an elite.
No, it's always very positive. If it's negative towards a specific, like the party is bad or its candidates are bad. You never broaden that critique to a class of Americans because that's divisive. And divisive.
It's anti-wealth bigotry, is what it is.
Well, there's an idea that is accepted by both sides of the aisle, and is a universal almost delusion in America. Is that we have a unity, that America is a unit in some meaningful way, and that politics is about bringing people together, which is a genuinely insane thing. Like politics is literally the opposite of that. Politics is, well, we have a dispute on what to do with all the stuff,
it's
and we're going to get two groups together, and they're going to try to see who wins.
It's
like
a
that's
power
what politics
struggle.
is. But in America, we genuinely, like the average person thinks, no, that's the opposite. That's divisive. Politics is about bringing people together.
Bringing people together,
which is
working
insane.
together, yeah.
And that's why we have this bipartisan mania. And
Yeah,
stuff.
we also don't have enough people hitting each other the way every other country
Which
in the world
is
does.
why this ad is so amazing to watch
All
as an American.
This is the momentum
We'll
ad.
pipe
What I loved about that ad, aside from the fact that it's funny and that it completely pissed off all the right people.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Did you see that Deborah Orr article in The Guardian?
Yes.
Oh, let me just.
What was her line on that again? It was like.
It's like this is an attack on wealth.
It was like, the idea was like, this won't convince anyone.
This
and
won't
it's like,
convince anyone.
it just did. Like,
And you're convincing them further.
but
inadvertently.
yeah, exactly. And then what I like about it is that this is after the campaign is over. It's not attached to a specific election. And what I really like, this was straight up just spiking the football on all of these assholes who are writing columns like that in The Guardian, and it worked beautifully.
So here's the headline. I just loaded on my phone. Momentum's video is full. It's just like Momentum's video. It's like this already. It's like it's full of simplistic prejudices and won't win over anyone. Like she's a Lib Dem, by the way. The left-wing campaign group's dinner party videos provoked outrage. That's not surprising. It's a divisive attack on baby boomers.
That's good. That is
generational warfare.
No,
That's exactly
we need like an ad campaign in America right now to educate the millennials on that they must begin hating and going to war with their parents.
Oh, shut up. That's what Occupy was. Just a bunch of middle-class kids very angry about living on the cul-de-sac, which apparently must have been terrible. But, yeah, no, I mean, it got people incredibly mad. And
The Sun called it hateful. The Sun.
When it happened, when that thing came out, you could hear, if you tilted your head, 1,000 monocles dropping to the ground.
shattering. I mean, I think we don't have anything like that. Again, there's no like general resentment for the elite.
No.
It's always considered ungrateful, and I don't know. I blame Protestantism or something.
Oh, absolutely. It's always for me that is suspect number one in any. Why is America so fucked up? First
we're
suspect is always
Marxists, so we
Protestantism.
don't want to blame culture, but also my people are extremely backward.
Well, it's just it's like capitalism and Protestantism arose simultaneously, and then they just created like a Brundlefly monster out of the two. And America is where that was unrestrained because it went to the lands and murdered all the people here, and had all of this land to just do dark experimentation until they created this horrifying hybrid beast of capitalism and Protestant morality, and then it ran untrammeled across the entire continent.
Yeah, we all joined the cult.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously the response to it was largely positive, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think since the general election, Momentum's like social media game has been ferocious.
Yeah,
it's been really, really good. Like, they've got so many of these good
My
videos.
style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. But so I want to ask you about this, Marcus. Amber mentioned that we are, and I think many of our fans are fans of the boy. Of the boy,
absolute
Jazz.
fans of
They're
the
huge
absolute
fans
boy.
of the boy.
What's your boy called? So he's the relative boy, isn't he? That's what people say. So you get the absolute and the relative boy.
And so much so
He's
that
the quantum boy.
Quantum boy.
I've seen several people wearing Jeremy Corbyn T-shirts now in America.
Yes. At the party last night, we were doing karaoke,
Yes.
and there was a spontaneous Jeremy Corbyn chant that broke out.
Oh, Jeremy,
Yeah.
this is what I want to ask you about. Can you either endorse or condemn this flagrant cultural appropriation by American kids of British culture.
I've been very
and
triggered by it.
yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're, confronting head on your privileges. It takes guts. I won't forgive and I won't forget, but it takes guts to confront that. No, it's obviously really, really cool, isn't it? And I've been made to feel very, very welcome by everyone. Everyone's super earnest and fucking happy that, that the British left for once has managed to deliver something of real material and ideological worth for the rest of the Western world.
Yeah,
it was a huge shot in the arm.
Oh my God.
Thing
It's
happening in left
we
politics
feel
right
like
now.
Harry Dean Stanton, yelling to our kids. The British left is like outside and we're inside in Red Dawn, and he's like, "Avenge me!"
Well, I mean, did you see how just disjointed and rudderless and also tanking in the opinion polls we were when the election was called? This election was like a direct attack on the entire organised labour movement. We were doing so badly when it was called. We were all so gutted, and I think we managed to pull 24 points.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
This
this is
unprecedented.
This is a big question, though.
It was a fucking Rocky movie. It was
seriously.
amazing.
How did you do it?
Yeah, seriously.
So Matt Zab's cousin, who's fucking amazing. He was Corbyn's press spokesperson for a very long time. He's
We have
pretty.
some articles, by the way. We should link into this. Just making a note of it.
Yeah, he
We'll
wrote
cut
an
that out.
article in which he seems pretty convinced that it was basically down to British electoral law, where the press have to be fair for the 6 weeks of an election period, and people get to see Corbyn in a much more a clarified and honest light. Because you saw all of the people that bothered to go to a Jeremy Corbyn rally in 2015 or 16, and they came back with very different feelings from people who just sat at home and just sort of internalized everything from the ferocious, fucking
Right.
hyenas of the capitalist press.
Your media class makes ours look dignified.
Oh, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
We look like brave, loyal knights to the people
That's right,
compared,
yeah.
compared to the UK media.
That's right. Intellectual knights of accountability and humility.
And we're utter moron cowards, but compared to the UK press, legitimately shocking.
How fat brain is every single Guardian columnist these days?
It's
so
utterly
fucking fat
shocking.
brain.
Yeah.
So it was the gap between the way Corbyn and his platform was presented by the media, and then in the election. Talk about actually you said the election law where the media has to be fair for the 6 weeks of the election.
Yeah, it just has to be cleaned up a hell of a lot because because against Western Europe, isn't it? You have to be fucking fair a little bit at the time at least.
Okay. But
So it's a 6-week period when you can't say that immigrants are eating the swans.
Yeah, there's a little gap in that. Yeah,
I have to say,
break.
it's the speed with which it was really heartening, because that's one of those things that weighs on your mind when you're thinking what is the way forward, is how oppressive and distorting media it can be. But the fact that 2 solid years of all of that just nonstop propaganda campaign against Corbyn, and then in just all you needed was the 6 weeks with the fucking where you're actually talking about the manifesto and talking about what you want to do
and what Britain should look like.
All of that dissolved. It didn't have the sort of oppressive hegemonic staying power to really it was so easily overcome by just seeing what the fucking policies were. That was really heartening.
But also on the sort of on the flip side, how surreally bad was the Conservative campaign?
So bad.
It was based around attacking their core base by criminalizing and demonizing people with dementia.
It's you should not ever be in a position a month from an election where you're talking about something called the Dementia Tax.
Right?
That's a bad move.
No, you're right. That is the
what
Tory
Americans
base.
do and come up with a good euphemism for it. We say right to work, and people are I think that sounds like
I want right to work.
Yeah, but they're no, dementia.
But
tax.
from an American perspective, watching it in I couldn't believe it. There was that debate where he got that question where they're will you use nuclear weapons? Will you inaugurate the apocalypse to event? And he was just no, that's crazy. And I was he's done. There's no way he's gonna.
I'm used to
we're
American
Americans,
politics.
and we're no, they will not respect
And
him.
the thing is that every one of those asshole columnists was all in a line saying, "Oh, this is very bad. This is very bad for Corbyn."
Yeah, he's clearly a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, it's he's a madman. He won't kill everybody.
Yeah, he'll
But then,
he'll seriously think before destroying the planet.
Yeah.
happened? And that was like, for an America, that's like, wait a minute, like jingoistic mindlessness was not rewarded.
But the idea is like
crazy.
it can get in your head too.
Yeah,
like it can
absolutely.
psych you out as well. And like the idea is like don't buy into it.
Yeah.
It's very
That's
hard to
what
not
happens.
internalize some of this, right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
This kind of entire neoliberal turn has been completely absorbed, even by leftists, and we really underestimated people.
I totally did.
Yeah, I didn't think Corbyn would win, but then again, I feel a little better about it because, or would make the gains that he did. I feel a little better about it because I talked to enough Momentum people who were like, yeah, we did not anticipate doing this well either.
I was very worried when Lena Dunham endorsed him.
But
That's true.
You're not
Lena
helping.
Dunham, but then Danny DeVito came out
DeVito.
strong
Yeah,
and
of
came out in the
course,
streets for.
Danny DeVito definitely made up for any Dunham.
And there was like
Yeah,
loads
he's a
of
comrade.
there was
He's
a
a fellow
good cultural
traveller.
coalition, wasn't there? There was like Grime for Corbyn.
Yeah.
There was like a really good like TV show called Geordie Shore, which is like a sort of north. It's a bit like Jersey Shore, you know,
Yeah.
but it's like the northeast of England, and that's like very very like tough but decent and nice, like former shipyard people. And the show's like funny. And, loads of the characters from that came out just being like, like just making really funny like tags with him in it, just on Twitter saying like, when everyone thinks that you're broken and everyone thinks that you can't do anything, like at Jeremy Corbyn, let's do this, brother. And like really good footage, like like Michael Crick, who's some fucking like hackish like Labour right journalist who, like, admittedly wrote a very good book about clearing Trotskyites out of the Labour Party in the 1980s called
Clear 'em
Militant.
out.
Clear them out, man. But he's obviously like a partisan of the right, really, in all of this, and he really, really wanted to like go out to town on this idea of like, white workers hate Corbyn. And he went out and he showed this like old like pensioner picture of Theresa May, and he was like, "What do you think of her?" And because his whole thing, he was trying to prove like either like white working class people were going to the Conservatives or UKIP or just staying away because of Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I hate her. This this woman in like Yorkshire." And then with this fucking little shit-eating grin, he's like, "Well, what do you think about him?" And it's a picture of Jeremy Corbyn. And she's like, "What? A lovely man. Lovely man." It's like, "What do you want to do with him?" And he's like, "I want to put him in number 10. It was fucking dynamite. He wanted that clip so much. He was deprived of it. It was this amazing coalition of like sort of like working class nanas, grime music, and kind of like fly by night international like stars.
I mean, that's the future. That's the future.
It is. That's absolutely right.
Nanas and rappers and.
To Nana's point, though, how are you going to put him in number 10?
Yeah. What are you gonna do, man?
Sorry, I think the formula created by the campaign is a good one, and I think people were genuinely shocked by the Labour vote. I think lots of people were demoralised until the very end. I for one couldn't believe it until I saw the results, with my own eyes. And you look at what we're doing in the opinion polls. I think we need to keep the architecture of the campaign in one place. We need to keep on thrashing out this like clear, consistent, coherent vision for the country. And I think events will prove us, to be the inheritors to to building a better country.
Please do that because we really need something to be excited about.
We'll do it for you. We will do it for you.
Did you see the video though of Tony Blair talking about how like he's like, but I do admit now that I didn't think it was possible, but I will say it is possible now. I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's advisable, but it did happen, and I'm admitting it now. And it's just like, his guts must have just been like twisted into a ribbon having to fucking say that.
Did you see Nick Cohen?
He's another fucking piece of work. Like, but Nick Cohen, man, like even across the Atlantic, that fucking reptile. The great joke about him is that he is the Robert Blake character from Lost Highway. Like every one of his columns should begin.
Sam Chris article where he
shout out.
Pervert's lip.
Yeah, he's like weird. Every Nick Cohen article should begin. We've met before, haven't we?
Well, did you see that Red London meme where they just posted that ridiculous?
Oh wait, no! Shout out to Red London. Explain Red London. No one knows what that is here.
No, I don't know too much about it either, to be honest. It's the fucking quite funny, shadowy, terrorist Maoist moon cage in London.
I think they're dirtbag. They're dirtbag left.
Yeah, they are dirtbag left.
We had some
yeah.
actually
with a mixture of
fuck.
like insane international paramilitary commitment as well.
Yeah, well,
They're into the Kurds and
that's about
yeah, that's a little dirtbag.
We have some dirtbag podcasting comrades in the UK who got fucking dragged in the Daily Mail. They put their fucking pictures in them and shit as evidence of like the new hate and harassment because they called journalists. They were doing coordinated harassment of journalists, which is obviously we support that and that's what we believe in. But they called someone a melt and like a tosser. And then they're like all three of they got like doxxed by the fucking Daily Mail or something.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up.
Well, they're doing the journalism that the world needs.
Yep.
There's a good lexicon of the Labour left these days as well, isn't there? You know, we were saying this the other day, like, you get, clear them out to reference, deviant elements.
Yeah,
You get,
there's hostile to socialism.
hostile to socialism, foreign to socialism. Hostile decadent is really good.
Yeah, hostile decadent. That's, I mean, it sounds like a punk band.
Also, like in arguments with like right wingers, it's a form of like political gaslighting by just referring to their argument as an ego trip, just to completely insult them in their tracks, you know.
But no. Back to number 10. I mean, how are you gonna smoke out Theresa May? I mean, is
Isn't
it
she gonna smoke
do it
herself
now?
out?
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, it's amazing. Like she's like, please stop leaking, and they're like, no, we're not. We're not gonna stop. We don't like you. And
It is crazy how she's just hanging in there
She
with
has
like
no
no
control.
one,
She
no
must be
support.
losing her mind.
Did you read that Daily
It's
Mirror
awesome.
article where she's an insider like leaked to the Daily Mirror that on election night when the exit polls came through, like two of Theresa May's staffers independently started like retching.
They booed it.
and she was
Literally
just in
made them
tears.
puke.
Oh god.
That's the best way. That's
love
the
it.
greatest own of all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I mean,
It's good watching these scumbags get humbled, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It's great watching these baby
And like no, but
stars.
it really is great. But I like I said, because of my privilege, I feel a slight guilt that I'm appropriating British culture by feeling good.
That's right. You're appropriating Labourite joy.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we should definitely be spending all of our days in mourning at this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's all yours.
Mourning
It's all
and
yours.
hysteria.
No, that's pointless. That's a dead end.
We did it for Chapo. and for all the grey wolves.
You heard it here first, folks. We did it. Woo!